I think it's working. Finally. Okay. So I always mess this up because these are always hard. It's always hard to do this. Okay. How to live stream? All right. I think I am live now. I'll probably let me add a little box here, but basically I probably will answer questions at the end of the chat because that will make my life easier. But it's something I've been working. I just basically want to kind of announce like a cool coffee project I've been working on, and get kind of your guys' thoughts on all of this. Nice. I am live. Great. Hopefully we don't get any frame drops and anything like that, because that always happens and that ruins my life. Great. Hello, Coffee Reviews. Hello, Julian. Okay, let's see. So I'm trying to see how good we are. Awesome, like 30 of you guys. So I probably won't really look at the chat. One thing, if you've caught a live stream before and you've seen the glorious content, is I usually am not prepared when I do these live streams, but today we have upgraded the cinematic production quality of these live streams to now I have a presentation. Basically, it's a project I've been working on. I needed to do. I was like, okay, I'll just do a presentation. It's easier for me to explain to you guys what this is and where it's coming from, kind of what like the thought process on everything is. So we'll go from there. And and I'm gonna hopefully, wow, am I in focus? Very cool. Okay, hopefully this works. I've had like a lot of trouble with this OBS stuff recently for some reason. It's mainly this computer has been giving me trouble, so it's been a little annoying to set some stuff up, but let me see if I can do this. So we go here. We have I need to move this camera out of the way. Here, let's see if this goes. Haha, boom. I have an actual schedule for today, sort of. And let me see if I can make myself a little bit bigger here. I'm gonna put myself in the corner here. All right, cool. So is this a big announcement? Sure. It's kind of something I've been working on the side for fun. Obviously, I have a full-time job, and I just do a lot of this coffee stuff for fun. And I've been thinking about like, is there a way that I can contribute something to the coffee industry in some sort of way? Or more so, I just wanted to create something that solved a problem that I have. And it is not equipment, it's not gear. It's more so a concept that I'm testing right now. And I just want to see if you guys are interested in what this is. But basically, it doesn't hurt to ask the wonderful world of the internet to see what people think. And I think I'll pause in a little to answer any sort of chat questions. But I'm looking at a presentation right now, so I can't really look at chat as much as I want to. So basically, this is this Asia Roasting Profile Project. I guess you can name it like Asia Coffee Roasting Profile Project. So this is something that I've spent past like 5-6 months building, throwing a few hours here and there at it. And basically what this is I have some other stuff onto here, and it's more interesting when I actually get into it. But basically all this is I just want to see if it's possible to recreate a roasting profile that you find in one part of the world, here in the USA. That's just the easiest way I can explain it. And like this is the TL. This is my beautiful. I'm great at making PowerPoints. I don't even know. Can you guys see this? This is what this is. So basically, what I wanted to see is it possible to recreate a roasting profile from one roaster to another, right? We're talking like there are so many great flavors that you can find in a roasting profile from something like Asia, which is exactly what this is focused on. And a lot of this interest has come from basically tasting a lot of coffees roasted in Asia and just finding out that it's significantly different. And this is kind of like this quick process of what this is. So basically, I have a business partner here, and I've done a bunch of work to get this actually where I want it to be. But basically, pick a green coffee. We then send the green coffee to Asia to a few different roasters that we've partnered with. They roast it under their profiles. They then send it back to us. And then we try to basically, they send the coffee and the roasted coffee and the profiles back to here. And we want to see, and I want to see if can you actually recreate that? Because I find that a lot of the profiles, it's kind of like you take these raw ingredients and you give it to a chef, right? Like multiple people will present said raw ingredients in a very different way, right? When they make their dish. It's the same thing with coffee where I think green coffee roasted in Asia, the roasting style is very different than here in the States. And kind of my quick TLDR on that is I feel like at least a lot of Western styles of roasting are very focused on things like vibrancy and brightness in coffee. And whenever I look at a lot of Asia roasters, I feel like it is very different in the sense that they focus on something like sweetness, maybe like integrating a lot of the acidity more. I'll talk more about that later on. But yeah, essentially, this is what this is. We just take those green coffees, we try to, we get their profiles, and then we try to recreate them, right? And right now, I do have a website. I have a very scuffed Shopify website I've been building, which I guess I might as well link in the chat too for you guys to take a look. A lot of the information is very, we're getting there. But basically, I'm not a coffee roaster, and I want, and the roasters that I work with, I probably won't announce exactly who it is, but basically it's I wanted to work with someone who I could trust, who knew what they were doing, and who could actually pull this off. It has been a very interesting QC process of actually recreating a roasting profile, doing a ton of different tests, roasting, sending it back to Asia, them sending it back, so on and so forth, iterating until we have a flavor profile that actually represents what a roasting profile is. And I think that has been quite a challenge, but it's been really, really fun to see. But that's the TLDR of what this is. Now, I really want to talk about why is it the way it is? Why do I think this is interesting? And where did this kind of come from? Well, basically, I find a lot of Asia coffee flavor profiles to be very interesting. Like I briefly mentioned earlier, I think a lot of, and this might be due to my upbringing and or I guess experience in brewing coffee, is my viewpoint of coffee is very westernized. A lot of the flavors that I chase, a lot of the presentations that I chase, a lot of the things that I do when I'm brewing coffee is really built, in my opinion, it's really built upon a very Western way of enjoying coffee, at least third wave specialty, which in my opinion is much brighter, much more vibrant, much more upfront flavor profiles. And it's something that I've quite enjoyed. This is why I enjoy roasters like Say, for example, is that I love vibrancy in coffee. But what has been very interesting is I think the polar opposite, maybe not polar opposite of vibrancy, but a very different way of presenting coffee is often found with a lot of Asian styles of coffee, like roasting styles that I think are, and I think as somebody who has really enjoyed this vibrant style of coffee, to suddenly switch over to try to taste a lot of these Asian coffees, it's been super fun. It's been very interesting. I've had to readjust my palate in a lot of different ways. And more so, it's just very cool to see how one green, the ending result from, say, the same coffee, how it tastes very different across a variety of roasting profiles, right? This is why a roasting profile I think is quite interesting. But if I were to really generalize, I think a lot of the Asian roasting styles very much focus on sweetness, on making things more like tea-like. And I think it is so different than a lot of Western brewing, presentations of brightness in coffee or acidity in coffee. So I think it's really fun. So yeah, focus is very different. And really, the other reason why I wanted to try to do this is more so seeing like, can this solve a problem that I have, which is buying coffee from Asia is very difficult. Let me see if I'm trying to catch up on this. So basically, I would say that there are certain countries that are just, it's really hard to buy coffee from them. I think about like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, things like that. It's like, if you live in the United States, buying coffee from there is quite difficult. Like right now, I think Japan is getting pretty good, but there's still a majority of Japanese roasters that are very difficult to purchase from. An example would be like Glitch here. This is impossible to buy here. So there's a lot of challenges with distributions and shipping. So the reason why I wanted to try doing this is like, well, I really actually like some of these flavor profiles because I've had friends come from Taiwan, Hong Kong, all of that, and they bring back coffee. For example, this is a drip bag from a roaster that we actually are partnering with called Desolate Coffee from Taiwan. And I like this coffee a lot. I like this roasting style a lot. And I tasted some of their coffees and I'm like, okay, well, how do I get some of it? And it's very difficult to buy these coffees. So the real kind of question that I've always asked is like, is it better to have attempt to buy some of these coffees, hope they show up in time before they expire, right? Like there's shelf life on roasted coffee, and a lot of the roasting style in like Taiwan and some of these other places is not the lightest in the world, right? We're not talking like a Poland's Gold, you have to wait 80 days for this thing to rest, right? I'm saying like some of these roasting profiles are more developed. They're enjoyable, they're sweet. The focus is very different. And you kind of need to enjoy these coffees in like a timely manner. And like, it's like that, right? Trying to buy these coffees, hope they show up in time, use forwarders and so on and so forth, versus why can't we just try to recreate this here in the US, right? So that is like kind of my just challenge that I've been thinking about is like, can we just recreate it here? And that is what I've kind of landed on is like, is it going to be the exact same as if you were to buy it in Taiwan? For example, like if I were to buy this Desolate Cafe coffee in Taiwan, is it going to be the same as here? No, it's not. But we can get close. And more so, that is what I want to present to people is like, this is the style of coffee that people across the world are potentially enjoying. And maybe that's something that you can enjoy here, right? It's like, do you want older coffee or do you want something that's like maybe kind of close, right? Because because like basically we're roasting here in the US. So if you're in the US, it makes it like very simple. So that is like the why as to, why does this actually exist? So I think it's interesting in that sense. Like this is something that I've found to be quite interesting is like, which one would you rather have? So another big thing about this, and this is also my interest in launching something like this, is my interest in flavors. So as I mentioned before, Western and Asian roasting styles are quite different. I don't think this is very, to anyone's surprise that if you grew up in a different part of the world and you try to get into anything subjective related, as in like, taste wise, the way you perceive flavors is going to be quite different. And I think the way they roast coffee in certain parts of Asia is quite different than here. Like I mentioned before, I think the simplest way to explain this is that the focus is very different in that I think a lot of Western roasters focus on being loud, like upfront flavors. Whereas I taste a lot of these coffees from like Taiwan as an example. It's like, it is so different. It is very sweetness focused. And I think that roasting style difference is very fun. I would also say that this is greatly been influenced by, I think, people's upbringings and a lot of the cultural elements here. Like, I would just, I'll use it. I have an example soon. That I think is fun here. So if I look at some examples, I'm going to use my own personal kind of upbringing here. So I was born in the United States. My mother's from Taiwan. My dad's born here. I am pretty American, if you have not realized by now, after all these beautiful pieces of content you watch. Let me take a sip of this. So I actually think this is a really interesting example, because I as I've been building this and like as I've been working on this project, there's kind of been a few things like just where I internally reflect. I'm like, this is why I like both styles a lot. And personally, I really like Coca-Cola and I really like something like milk tea. I would say Coca-Cola is a very American thing. Soda is I feel, in my opinion, a very American thing. And this is like acidity forward. It's like acidic. Yes, it's sweet, but like there's acidity in these beverages. Whereas like the Asian part of me really likes something like milk tea, which is very, very sweet, very, very rounded. Can it have acidity? Yes, but it's much more integrated. I'm trying to not avoid using coffee vocabulary for now. But, it's like these types of things. Like you can enjoy both of these things, both of these presentations. But it's really like something that I saw about a year ago at a Bay Area coffee meetup or about like a few months ago, maybe not a year ago. But this has been a very interesting observation that I've had is mainly like, and I'll probably make a video about this, is that I think cultural upbringings and what you have eaten in your life, what your palate understands, greatly impacts obviously what you like, but also how you brew coffee. And I think this has been a very apparent thing that I've observed in my local community of the Bay Area, which is predominantly Asian. We have a lot of people from like China, for example. And we also have, obviously our American-born Chinese and so on and so forth. So when we have these coffee meetups, I think there is sometimes a very interesting overlap of cultures. And you see this in the method of how people brew coffee. And this is something that I've observed a few times, where you can take a coffee, like say for example, I have like a beautiful Say coffee. I think it was a Say or Manhattan coffee. It was like a very obviously like a Western coffee. We had it at a meetup, and there were a few people from we have like a local Chinese group that does coffee, and we have our coffee Discord, and there was like a melding of two things at an event. It was very interesting. Is that the brewing styles between, I would say, like somebody who is like a Western enthusiast, a Western coffee enthusiast like myself, versus somebody who like grew up in China, moved over here brewing coffee, and they learned how to brew coffee in China. Very different. The focus is so different. Yes, we enjoy the same coffee, but the presentation of how somebody would brew it would be quite different. I feel like a lot of and I mean, I don't really feel like it. So I've seen and I've tasted some of the brews from some of these guys who come from China, and it's like sweetness focused. It's so sweetness focused. And I'm like, wow, that's not how I would have brewed this coffee, but it is a flavor profile that I greatly now enjoy. I'm like, that is really interesting to see, like, that all of these guys, maybe not all of them, but a lot of these guys like to brew coffee in a way that is very influenced by, I would say, a lot of their cultural upbringings, right? Like, think about a lot of Asian cuisines, right, are like very sweetness focused. So it's something that I've just been thinking about, and I'm like, this is a very interesting observation. And kind of like what has kind of internally driven what this entire project is built upon, which is I want to present these very unique flavor profiles that you can find across the world, wherever, to maybe here, right? Like maybe in the West, and see if people enjoy it or not. But that's kind of like my ramblings on that. So I hope that makes sense in explaining that. And there is a website you can go and try to buy these. I'm going to talk about coffee soon. Okay, I have coffees, and thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat. I haven't been looking at this, so let me catch up real quick. So unfortunately, I haven't tasted a lot of teas, so I do not know how those teas taste. But I think you can generalize and say, like, I think a lot of these flavor profiles occur in multiple industries, multiple cuisines. I mean, like, yeah, obviously cuisines, but like, I think just kind of like the approach is different. Hey, Brian, I have to go, but before I do, I wanted to ask if you need me to bring you back anything from Japan. Ooh, I have too much coffee, man. and obviously I'm trying to create more coffee. So I don't have, actually, I have one thing. Let me see if I can find it. Actually, this one might be kind of hard to find. Actually, never mind, Julian. I got too much. Well, yeah, Julian, if you can go to Ignis, that would give me I'd be very happy. That's all, you would be very happy if you could get a coffee served at Ignis, get something that's espresso based and watch them make that espresso. That's all I will say. But yeah, Ignis I've really enjoyed the coffees from Ignis. I will talk a bit about that. Okay, so let me kind of I took a little break from my beautiful presentation. So I now want to talk a bit about coffee. It's like, wow, this is a very, very, very cool thing. Is that I have coffees that I obviously want to talk a bit about. They're kind of been a labor of love of getting these coffees done. They're actually from two roasters, or the roasting profiles. The roasting profiles are quite different. One is from a Taiwanese roaster, and one is from a roaster in Macau. So quite different roasting profiles. And I'll talk about them a bit. These are just like mock-up bags. I do have the actual coffee, which I will then brew for you guys as well. So we'll go ahead and do that later. So the first thing is that, if you go in, actually here, let's look at my beautiful website. Look at my beautiful Shopify website. Okay, this is there's a lot of effort here. Okay, but basically, it's just like arp-coffee.myshopify.com. There's gonna be a real domain eventually, but yeah, we basically have two coffees, and they have two different profiles. The coffees are roasted actually in San Jose by a top roaster. I'm still figuring out like exactly how we want to present them and all of that, but it is somebody that I trust a lot, and it's local to me, so it's been pretty interesting to QC the process, QC and do all these cuppings and brewing and all of that, and make sure the coffees taste the way that these roasters from Asia intend them to taste. And it's also been complete craziness of shipping these samples back to Asia. Oh my God, shipping is so expensive. So I want to talk a bit about the Asian cup profile, at least from these coffees that I have here that I've been working on, and also of a lot of the coffees that I have tasted. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is like my experience of this, but essentially, yeah, so actually someone is a very, EC in here has already told everyone about what I'm about to say. But a lot of the Asia roasting style in coffee is very sweetness focused. It's very rounded. And a really interesting thing that I've observed when building this project has been taking the same coffee, doing a reference roast from an American roaster, and then having three different Asia roasters do their roasts on the same exact coffee. So you have like 4 different roasting profiles on one coffee, and you cup all of them. Obviously, some are going to be roasted a little lighter, a little darker, but the generalization that I can say is that a lot of what is different between like something like, I'll use my hands here, is where acidity is presented. So an example of this is I have found for American coffees, like the Western style of roast, to be very upfront. And I think that's what makes it so interesting is like a very acidity forward coffee that is loud that then kind of blends into the rest of the stuff. Like if you were to just basically generalize a roasting profile, I think that is what a lot of people like. It is a very interesting presentation of flavors. But what's been quite interesting is like, I've been used to that forever. Okay, that is the roasting style I just really enjoy, and what I'm used to. But when I cupped the Asia roasting profile, it's very different. At least among these roasters that we've partnered with, that I've luckily been able to work with, is that the acidity is very different. Where it kind of exists among when you sip something is presented so differently. There's a predominant focus on sweetness, being very sweetness forward. Like you sip something and sometimes you won't even get acidity until like 10 seconds later, right? We're talking sweet. Oh, now there's acidity, right? Things like this. So it's a very different focus, and I think that is really, really fun. It is something that I'm like, if you were only drinking Western style coffee, you should try this other profile out. So we've attempted to kind of recreate that here, which is what this is. So really, like, the cup dynamics are so different. Where acidity is presented, where it blends into the rest of the brew is so different. And I think that is what has really driven my interest, at least on the coffee end, maybe not cultural end, but the coffee end, which is like, this is so different than what I am currently used to. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah, we got the PowerPoints out here. All right, it's a more formal, slightly more formal stream. So that's kind of the gist of like what you can typically expect is, yes, there's a huge focus on sweetness, rounding, maybe making things more tea-like. Is it blended? Potentially, but it depends on roaster, right? I'm just trying to drastically generalize. So now I want to talk a bit about these coffees, and we have two roasters that we've partnered with here. Right, yes, East Asian and Western palates are quite different, right? Because think about like what you have grown up with. That really, really will impact your database of how you perceive flavors, right? It's like it's like if you're used to a certain flavor profile and that is what you've done, and if you go into coffee roasting, you might kind of have some of that leach over, and when you roast coffee, you might focus on something like sweetness or acidity. But yes, there's a very big difference of sensitivity to certain flavors. That is also something that I've observed where, as someone who does really like acidity, I've brewed coffees that are very acidity forward, and I will give it to somebody and they'll be like, that is way too sour, right? But then if I brew the same exact coffee, right? We're not changing the coffee here. If I brew it in a way that's much more sweetness focused, they'll be like, oh, this is actually really enjoyable. And it's kind of interesting that there is a very cultural element to this too, right? Because like, just think about like where you've grown up, what you've been eating, and how you think about flavors and how you communicate said flavors, right? And I think what's really cool with coffee brewing is that a lot of what you've experienced growing up and whatever has influenced you in your culture, that actually does kind of influence how you brew coffee to an extent, because you probably will try to brew something or do something to a coffee to make it taste like what you would want to taste and what you like. So I have two coffees I want to talk about today, and you can actually go and pre-order these right now from these two roasters. So it's been really, really cool to just, I mean, it's like, oh my God, working with these guys because they're in Asia. The hours have been really really fun. But basically, we got two roasting profiles. I have two coffees. I'm going to talk about them. I'll show you guys more on the website, and then we'll brew them because I think it'll be fun to also kind of brew and give you guys like a brief explanation of what each of the coffees taste like, and more so what each of the roasting profiles taste like. So we have Mute Roaster from Macau. And then we have, oh God, I've been talking for a bit now. And we have I think I'm still live. I'm always afraid I'm not live. Okay, great. And we have Desolate Cafe from Taiwan. So I forgot to add it here, but Mute is owned by Oz, and Desolate is owned by Alex. And both of these guys have been fantastic to work with. And we have, actually, I'm going to say this for a little bit later, probably for a more formal video. I'll talk a bit about each of these at a later date, each of these guys at a later date, because I just think they've done some really, really cool stuff. I think we'll talk a bit about the coffees right now, but I'm just very excited about each of their roasting profiles because it's like very different than what I'm used to. But I have two coffees. So we'll talk about, so Alex here is, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. Alex here is on the right, and he actually was in the US for a bit, and he competed in the US Roasters Championship. And then Oz here also does competitions, I believe, and he is over here. And they're really lovely people. But I'm very excited about both of these coffees because I've tried their roast, and I'm just like, oh my god, what is going on? It's so interesting. So let me talk a bit about the coffees. These two guys. So I have like a beautiful bag that I've made that you actually, you know, these look great. So it's kind of interesting to have two coffees that are both honey processed. But basically, yeah, so the first one is a Colombian churroso, and it is, where is it? It is this one. This is a roasting profile that we've worked with Mute Roaster for this. So it's their profile on this coffee. It's a honey process, sugarcane, green plum, grapefruit. I wrote more on the website. I'm gonna put more information on the website, but here's the beautiful website. Here, you guys can read exactly what I wrote, and hopefully it's interesting. So basically, what's very different, like I mentioned, is I would say the cup dynamics of Asia roasting is like super interesting. I'm brewing this out. I'll literally probably repeat exactly what I just said. But this is such a weird profile if you've never tasted a profile like this before. The first time I tried a coffee from Mute, I was very confused. And the reason is because it is like an absolute reverse to what I am so used to, which is that loudness, right? Like that upfront coffee. Like I have millions of boxes of Say here. So like Say, for example, it Say's like, in my opinion, upfront, vibrant, right? It's like, here is what the coffee is. Here's what the acidity is. It then like blends beautiful, you know, that acidity then like kind of harmoniously blends into the rest of, you know, the aftertaste and all of that. And it is very interesting. But when you sip these coffees, you get a very present, like when you sip this, right, you get a very apparent presentation of acidity. Mute is like the polar opposite of that. I'm holding up the wrong one because I'm looking at the screen. There is a lag time, a buildup. You sip this and you're like, what is happening? It's super, super sweet. Then you get hit with the acidity. Then the finish is very, very sweet, and it's super long. That's kind of a very different roasting style that I had never experienced until I tried Mute. So I'm really, really happy that we are working with Oz here and we are presenting his coffee in this way, because in our replication of this style, we've gotten very, very close where we can really replicate that distinctive buildup of flavor, and it's super fun. So I'll get to that one. I'll talk more about that when I brew. The second coffee, you know, I'm keeping this very simple, okay? Because I don't know. This is a soft launch of this. I just wanted to do a live stream, right? It's like, what are the cool things I'm working on? The next coffee is a Honduras honey process coffee. Beautiful labels done by me. You know, I did the photos for this. Like as you see, look how great this looks. This is like a little light box, and then I took a picture. I printed out a label, took a picture here. This is what the bag is going to look like. Okay, if you were wondering, if you were ordering this, this is this is available to purchase now. We are going to roast next week. That's what's going to happen. And I will drop another link into here. It'd be cool if you guys buy it. I actually really, honestly, I'm looking for feedback. So this coffee is very interesting. This profile is very interesting. So this is a coffee that has notes of orange, oolong tea, eucalyptus, blackcurrant. It is very, very sweet. But what's really interesting to me is that when you sip this coffee, there is the profile is very rounded, or not rounded, but like it coats your tongue, and it is like loud in that sense of like you get perceivable texture. It's sweet, and then you get the acidity, and that acidity is much more kind of like loud, and then it becomes super silky, and then like really mellows out, and there's a kind of like a lovely weight to your tongue after you sip this coffee. So two very different roasting profiles, okay? And that's what I thought would be interesting is like we have other roasters that we've partnered with. We're gonna launch them eventually. But I wanted to kind of find two that would present you guys, I would say, there's just a guy on his motorcycle outside. Two profiles that are very unique. And if you've never tasted coffee like this, I think it's very fun, right? It's more so like, I think this is fun. This is what I, as a coffee enthusiast, would enjoy. Is like, I want to try different cup dynamics. I will brew these coffees. I will show you. But a lot of these things that I am talking about will actually appear regardless of what you're brewing or how you brew, to an extent, right? We're not talking like, if you're brewing like 1 to 20 something, right? It'll be different. But yes, so I need to add more information on the website. This is a very like pre-launch. We are collecting orders and we're going to roast next week. So if you were curious in buying it, but yeah, these are 8-ounce bags that are roasted in San Jose. And these are, I have actually the coffees here. So I'll go ahead and brew them. But these are not the lightest roasts in the world, okay? These are not like, you don't need to wait 90 days for it to rest, okay? We're talking 2 weeks off roast. You probably, 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks. These are like your American light, maybe a little more developed, but the focus is very different, okay? It's sweetness focus, right? And also, look, this is not something like my personal preferences are not actually like shown here, right? Is like, I don't really care about what I like in this sense, right? It is more so allowing these roasters to show off what they will, who they are, what their worldview of coffee is, and that's just found in flavor. And I think that's what's the main interest here for me, right? Is like, I don't need to have my opinion on what these coffees should taste like, right? I don't need to care that I don't like them or I like them. I care about, is it possible to take their presentation and show it off here, because I think it's a very interesting display of flavors and a very interesting display of culture. So those are just, my opinions there, or on that. But it's a small business, okay? This is something like I don't even know. I probably will talk a bit more. Like I'll make a whole video on like, what was it like to build this? What are the numbers? What is, it's like, it is not good is what I'll tell you. But it is a very interesting project, and I've been very excited about it, and I wanted to kind of, finally show it off, right? This is my contribution to the world. Hopefully you enjoy it. So, those coffees are there. I hope, depending on where you are, the shipping should be calculated properly. We have 2 coffees. There's only like, well, I don't know how many bags are left. I haven't been looking, but you know, it is hopefully interesting for you guys, right? I'll have like a whole entire formal thing on this, right? We'll talk about the coffee some more, but for now, let's kind of have some fun and let's actually brew these coffees up. So I have two, these are just, we did like a lot of samples and I got kind of this new little, I'm just dropping things. I got this new desk here, or like it's actually a TV cabinet and it has storage underneath so I can like kind of take stuff out. So I've actually been brewing these, well, I've cupped these a lot and then I've actually been brewing a lot. I'm more interested in brewing than actually cupping. I'm not a green buyer. I'm not a roaster either. But anyway, so let's try to brew some coffee. And usually that goes pretty well on the live stream here. I also will have, we should have some actual brew guides from our roasters as well. So I believe they're still working on that. But Alex, I think from Desolate, he sent over one, his kind of recipe of how he brewed this coffee. So, but I'll just do my version of it. So let me also show you guys like what the beans look like. Might not show up very nicely. So I'm gonna try the cupping brewer. I am a little caffeinated, I do have to be on, whenever I'm doing these live streams. So let's brew the Desolate first, and then we'll brew Mute after. So the Desolate is, I'll just switch over here so you guys can read. Actually, here I can just link these. Why don't I just do this? It'll be easier. You guys can just like read the details yourself. So this is the Desolate. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's the Mute. And then this is the Desolate. I think those should be linked properly. So we're gonna do the Desolate first. And I'm gonna try to show you guys what this looks like. And hopefully this goes well. Oh God, knocking things over. I've been brewing these on like V60, on April. I've also pulled espresso of it. I actually think of the two coffees, the Desolate is definitely more approachable and the Mute is more interesting. Both of them are definitely very different than I think a lot of typical flavor profiles, but I think the distinctive, like I think if you were to try one, I think the Mute is a little, it's just like really different. But I think if you were used to Western flavor profile, I think the Desolate might also, it's more comfortable in that sense. All right. So here's this coffee. Let me see if this can show. It's hard to do this. So, as you see, right, this is it's not gonna be the lightest coffee in the world. But this is still pretty light. It's also, it's hard for me to show you visually. Obviously, lighting and all of that. I have all these lights on. For reference, here's some Say, if you're curious. I mean, this is not the same coffee, but, I'm just gonna try to show you guys. Slightly lighter, visually speaking, I think, on Say. But still both, this is light. Because these are, again, at the end of the day, single origin coffees. So I am gonna brew some of the Desolate up. I've actually been really enjoying brewing at 92 Celsius, a bit of a lower temperature, because it's like, I like sweet stuff, man. It's good. Okay. Try to brew some. I'll tell you guys about how these are tasting. But, I do want to preface this and say, look, if you if you've... Oh god, my grinder is not focused. Ha. I do want to preface this and say, oh, okay, I do have Agtron values. Let me pull those up. I don't have some of these readily available. God, where did these Agtron values go? I guess I could also put them on the website if you guys are curious. I had it in a spreadsheet. Where is this? So the Agtron on the Desolate is 69. Wait, okay. How do I read these numbers? 69.4, 62.9? I think it's on that scale. Oh, God. So it's like in that, that like 70, 16, 62, 69. I don't know if those numbers help you out, Tommy. I should know this, but I'm you know, not a roaster. Let me see if I can also pull. So that's for this coffee I just showed you is the Desolate. I don't know if I can pull up the other one easily. I have to text people for that. But anyway, it's definitely on the lighter side, right? But the interesting thing is that it's like you can have a light roast that's not like loud in terms of acidity. And I think that's what's really interesting. So I'm just gonna do a quick brew here. I'm brewing 12 grams because it's late. It's like 6:51. So I'm just gonna brew my standard 12 to 200. We'll brew our Desolate first. Again, it's relatively light. You guys can see that? Very cool. And, oh, yes. So why am I using the Apollo? I like it a lot. It makes me feel good because this adjustment is good. Please do this more. Put the grind size adjustment on the outside of the grinder. I could use this one too. This is also an option. I could use our time more, but this is annoying. I don't like changing grind. I don't like I have to do this and I have to change the grind size. If I don't RDT, it's miserable. This is also really good, the C3, but I like the Apollo. It's a lovely grinder. Yes, the orange improves the taste. Also, this thing is stupid heavy. It is great. You know, it's a pillar. And yeah. So it's also easy to use. Look how little effort I'm putting into this. Yeah, orange is better. So let's see how many of these flavor notes come out in brewing. I'm gonna do we'll do a. Oh, I got to move the camera out of the way. Let me do this. Hold on, guys. All right. Now we have upgraded. Hopefully the autofocus is good. It's hard to do this. Make it all work every time. I'm using real April filters. Hopefully our grind size is good, but yeah, the Apollo is a heavy boy, but it's lovely. Okay. Oh, smells lovely. Smells sweet. So, you know, I just wanted to have 2 quick coffee releases, and then, you know, we'll probably have more and more as time goes on. But this is orange, oolong tea, eucalyptus, and black currant. I would say that a lot of that orange does come out, and it gets blended, and it's very, you know, lovely tea. Lovely. It's like tea. And, you know, hopefully we can brew live. It's always a little goofy to brew live on camera. Yeah, so I like the balance, which is why I'm doing April as well, and I'm also doing Apollo. I would grind coarser, pour a little less aggressively if you're doing okay, if you're gonna do Kalita. I'm brewing 92 Celsius. I'm actually gonna let this bloom a little. We might see coffees that are grown in Asia, but right now the focus is the roasting profile. So, you know, taking the Asia roasting profile and demonstrating it here is a very big focus of the current launch schedule. I will say though that you know, we do have roasters from Taiwan that we work with, and there are some Taiwanese coffees that are worthwhile exploring. So you stay tuned. I don't want to promise anything too much, you know. You guys are going to hold me accountable for the ideas that I have. Okay. Let me see if that works. Wow, I'm back, and the angle is still relatively okay. So I think I wrote on the actual webpage. I think this I wrote this smelled like, I think I had like a milk tea thing. What did I say? It is hard to buy. So exactly, it's hard to buy those coffees. I mean, you're in Canada, I'm in the States, but like, man, it's hard to get a lot of those coffees. Yeah. By the way, right now, I hope it works. I'm gonna need to email you if it didn't work, but we're only doing this in the U.S. Okay, so if you're in Canada and you're trying to buy this, I might need to email you, or I might work something out. Yeah, I think I wrote, it reminds me of drinking milk tea. I mean, that's what this thing smelled like, which was super interesting. So here we go. Oh yeah, this craft is great. Let me grab a cup. Got my cup. All right. First up, Desolate. Yeah, if you're trying to buy from Canada, I will have to see, because shipping has been kind of the biggest challenge here, especially shipping costs. So, you know, I know there are a lot of you guys in Canada who want to buy, it should not load Canadian shipping rates. If it does, then there's a problem, and I'll need to email you. Okay, but I got this distillate here. It just smells so sweet. The focus of their roasting style and their profile is definitely, like, I think bringing, you're going to get like 2 to 3 flavor notes, and then it's just going to be lovely silkiness. Oh yeah. I'll give you an overview of what this is at the end. But we're gonna taste. We have another coffee to brew, so we can chat about that while we do stuff. But god damn, I'm very happy with how some of these coffees turned out. Yeah, it's just like, it's so hard to explain what your palate experience is, but the distillate really reminds me of drinking like milk tea. It is super rounded. It is all around your tongue. And it lingers. There's a definite weight and texture to this. And I would really classify this as like silky or buttery. It's nice. And I would say if you were to think about what the acidity is, when we cupped this, we definitely were getting orange, and that kind of, to me, is kind of like there, and then it integrates into the rest of the brew. I'm sorry, we will figure out Canada at some point. It's a small pilot project. More milky than Letty? No, not more milky than Letty. Look, these coffees are honey processed. Okay, there's no craziness going on. Okay, it's very straightforward, right? We want to be able to present the roasting profile out there, and very straightforward. It's there's no goofiness going on, is what I'll say. So yeah, I want to drink more, but it's 7 p.m. But yeah, there's a predominant focus on sweetness. This is actually a different brew that I had right before starting the stream. That's why I'm very crazy and I say things. But like this is a say brew. The difference is just where that acidity kind of happens, when do you detect it, and what is the resulting kind of dynamics that occur. And I will still say, like, again, I know a lot of you guys who watch my videos, and a lot of you guys who hang out, right? You guys are into the ultralight stuff, okay? This is not the ultralight stuff, okay? It's light, but it's not ultralight. It's not going to be, like, super sour or anything, okay? I think the distillate, the one that I just brewed, is much more approachable. When I say approachable, I mean, like, it's approachable in the sense, like, this is what the cup dynamics are, okay? Not like it is roasted dark that, anybody can drink it. But this might be a little light for some people. I do think that this is, I'm trying to sell you guys a coffee here, but it's very approachable. I actually pulled 2-3 shots of this, and it's great as espresso. But that's this coffee. So I'm gonna catch you guys up. There's a few people joining here. So I just recently, I've been working on this thing called the Asia Roasting Profile Project, where basically I work with roasters in Asia to take their roasting profile and recreate it and present it here. I think there are very different flavor profiles and roasting styles that you can explore in other parts of the world. And focusing on Asia is very interesting to me because I think it's a great presentation of culture and also how the flavors, how they experience flavors, their view of coffee. How can I present that here? And these coffees are roasted in San Jose, California, roasted in the Bay Area. We are doing a real quick pre-launch pilot of this, and then we're gonna roast probably Tuesday night, or Tuesday night's gonna be that cutoff. We're gonna roast and ship out on Wednesday. Not North America, USA only for now. Sorry guys, I know a lot of you guys in Canada want the coffee. Yeah, it's 7. I had to take a sip of this. Okay, I took a sip of it. It's tasty. Let me now show you guys the mute coffee, mute roaster. Because mute, I think, is very weird if you've never had if you've never had a style like this, which I don't think a lot of people have had this style before because this was kind of my first experience, is this. So let me show you guys how dark or light these are. Okay, so here's the mute. I also do have like literally dark roasts that I can show you, but okay, here's mute. I have the Agtron somewhere here, but I cannot find it easily. So here we go. Here's mute. And then for reference, I'll pull out some Say again if you're curious. You know, it's light. Everything's light. We like light. I just put medium light because I think if I put, like, I don't know, light, medium, dark is hard to explain. Yeah, so when I say weird, I just mean like very different, okay? Is that there's a distinctive buildup of flavors. And I'm just not used to that. I'm so used to, you know, the Western style, which is like upfront and loud and you know, I was gonna say bold, but I don't think, you know, a lot of the coffees I'm drinking are very bold. They're not dark. But yeah, so I would say distillate is definitely that kind of crowd pleaser, or it's like if you want to present the style to a variety of people across almost every brewing method, distillate is much more approachable in that sense of, I think it's a more adaptable coffee. I actually really enjoy this mute with super fast styles of espresso and also pour over, clarity focused stuff. So let me grind this guy up. Like the cool thing though is that, like, yes, these are these coffees. Just dropping coffee everywhere. It's like, yes, you know, these are the coffees we've selected to start. More so is actually the roasters. They selected these coffees. We sent a variety of green samples over to them, and they basically picked the ones that they wanted. And the really cool thing is that they did roast a lot of they did send back like their coffees, right? And it was just so cool. Like the mute one definitely was something that I've quite enjoyed because it's just so different. My energy levels are very goofy, is what I'll say, Brent. It's the unfortunate reality of, you know, it's like, I don't do this content stuff full time. It'd be cool. It'd be a very interesting thing to think about doing content full time. But like, you know, most of the time I record videos and stuff, it's after work. It's like after 5, 6 p.m. So things are done at really weird hours, which is the unfortunate reality. Let me get another carafe. It really do be like that. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna preheat this kettle. And also trying a little bit of a different setup here. But yeah, I don't know. I just really wanted to talk about stuff and see what the world thought about things. Probably gonna have a few more, you know, like actual videos about what this is. Okay. Oh man, it smells great. Okay, we're gonna attempt to brew this without Thanks everyone for tuning in. So I'm just brewing up the Mute Roaster coffee. Nice. All right. Coffee brewing has occurred. I can now put the Apollo to the side. See what the chat is saying. Yeah. Highly recommend the B plus Apollo. It is such a fun grinder. I don't know if he still has this color. I feel like he got rid of this color. I think this is some rare color here. Let's take a look. Take a look. I think he had a green, right? Yeah, like... Oh my god. Oh, there's one left. Okay, that's sold out. So here's the thing is the color, like... the color is very different. I don't know if that's the same sun orange. Look at that. He had the green. He also had this other green. Like... This is such a goofy color grinder. I don't know. Like, I love this a lot, okay? You can pick one of these up for your Christmas spirit. But yeah. Very cool. So, I like the Apollo a lot. It is lovely. Dude, I love the colors. I love the colors. Okay. Yeah, so we brewed on a low-quat dripper. Low-quat dripper. It's yellow on an orange coffee grinder. I should have had other colors with me. Can't have everything, man. So now let's do this one. The one thing that I found that's just still really interesting with a lot of this, both of these coffees is still like, how is acidity presented and where does it occur? I feel like even though on some Western styles of coffees, like I like to use Say for a lot of stuff, like, you know, it's still, Say is my favorite roaster, right? Is that like, even if you try to brew some of those coffees like large ratio, harmonious brewing styles, the acidity is still like very structured. It's like, this is acidity. And then you can try to make it more like integrated with the rest of stuff. But these Asian roasting styles are so different in the sense that there is acidity and it just really blends in a very soft way, which is fun. It's very different. So here is Mute. That is this coffee, if you were wondering. Honey processed churroso, not chorizo, churroso. Although what's really funny is Google, it's telling me chorizo. I don't know if you guys can see that, but if I right click here, it says chorizo. Did you mean churroso? Or I think there's a better pronunciation of it. But anyway, sugarcane, green plum, and grapefruit. So that's what this tastes like. They both of these coffees smell like, aromatics wise, are very sweet, very floral. Yeah, it's just like weird. I mean, like very different, okay? What happens is there is a lag time. And when this lag time occurs, it's like a buildup. Maybe I should do a reverse. It's like this way. Lag, boom, into acidity, like this. It's like a roller coaster. And then it finishes really, really sweet. And What's really interesting is all of these flavors are concentrated kind of in the center of your palate. Quite different than the distillate profile. The distillate profile is very much along the edges of my palate. And then there's definitely like a weightiness and a silkiness to it. And then it kind of like, stays there. This is similar in the sense of the acidity it's like very blended in with the rest of it, but there's this distinctive lag time, and then it builds up. You get hit with the acidity, and then it really finishes long, and it's all in the center of your tongue, center of your palate, which is wildly different than the distillate. That distillate though does have a very apparent orange note to it that just really coats your tongue, and it has that silky sweet finish. Mute, you get a bit of this, I would say, grapefruit plum note that's like very much concentrated in the center of your tongue, and then it has a super long finish, super long aftertaste. So those are the two coffees. Okay. How long do I feel? Oh, let me see. It's like a 3 to 5 second lag. I guess it also, to clarify, it depends on how aggressive you are aerating. But there's a lag time to this. Like, it is so different. It's like there's buildup. And I think that's super fun. And I'm like, wow, that's very different than what I think typical experience will be. Now, of course, I am brewing. These things have been brewed on the Apollo. In this example, I've brewed it on the Apollo. I've brewed it on the April dripper, and I was doing I was brewing at 92 Celsius. I did a 50. I was doing 12 grams. I put 50 grams for the first pour, and I let that bloom for about 30 seconds. I poured another 50 grams circle as well, and then I did actually a 50 circle, 50 center for this one. So kind of a modified version of my modified April recipe, which is actually attempting to bring up more acidity. But I'm saying, like, within the context of, we're talking like shadows, I guess, like the context of what your grinder can present, and in the context of what brewing method you're using, you can experience these different cup dynamics. Espresso, I think depending on which one you do. Okay, so distillate, I think you can pull slightly more traditional shots here. I think distillate, because of that presentation, I think it's more suited to trying to pull slightly lower ratios. Like, we're talking 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5. And I think like basically the gist, and in mute I'd pull longer ratio, I'd pull fast. The gist of how I would describe on pulling espresso for Asia roasting profiles is I would focus on doing very slow and long pre-infusion that emphasizes sweetness and blending flavors together. That is the strategy I would start with, because I think a lot of these coffees are not necessarily designed to have a lot of acidity, the profile is very different, right? It's like sweetness focused, and to kind of honor that, but also I think, it's fun to like double up on the sweetness, is pull an espresso that is very sweet, which a way to do that is lower the acidity presentation, blend that acidity with the rest of the shot, do that, grind fine, slow pre-infusion, low pressure stuff. That is going to get you to where, I think it's going to get you to where you need to be. Versus like, I would pull Say, for example. Like, I know they pull Say in their cafe. They're like, oh, I'm going to grind really, really fine, and they do slow pre-infusion. But like, I like pulling Say, slam the puck with water, bring up that acidity. Very different. So that is what I would do for these coffees. I actually think the distillate is really good, 1 to 3 plus. I will probably, okay, I have a lot I need to do on this website, okay, guys? But here, I'm going to link everything in here. If you're still hanging out, in the chat. I have not been keeping up with who is actually in the chat. I'm so sorry. Okay, here's the beautiful website. There's more information that needs to be added. I wanted to just talk about the live, do the live stream because this is a soft launch, okay? I would love if you guys, once you guys get these coffees, to let me know what you think, okay? I really, I need feedback here. The coffees are priced the way they are so that I don't lose money doing this because this is really expensive to do because I'm not a roaster, so I have to work with a roaster. I have to, it's very complicated to explain. Also, it's getting late. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But, these are, I think these are going to be fun. I am looking for feedback. There is a limited number of these bags available, at least for our first batch, because we kind of need to see like how it all works, right? But I wanted to just kind of announce it here. But again, this is just, I think, maybe. The problem is it would take a while for that to heat up, so I can't really do that. I also don't have any like decafs here anymore. But yeah, the coffees are fun. They're drastically different. And again, this is a lot of this is like born out of my interests in culture and my also interests in just flavors and coffee roasting styles and how do those flavors appear. Great. It's great to see that you think the pricing is fair. So we are roasting next week. We are roasting next Wednesday, and they will get shipped basically that same day. So you should hopefully get it by the end of next week, and then you will then need to wait, or I would probably wait another week, a week and a half before I crack it open and start brewing. So, yeah, that's kind of my goal right now. I need to talk to my partner about that, but I think we want to get, we want to collect all the orders. We're going to cut off the orders Tuesday midnight Pacific time, and then they're going to get shipped out, or the roasting and production, all that needs to happen. They'll get shipped out probably Wednesday, Thursday, depending on where you live in relative to the Bay Area. It might be 3 to 5 days. We are using, we kind of have been playing around with shipping, so I think it should be okay. But yeah, I would hope it would get to you the week after. We're roasting with a roaster in San Jose, not Coro. Still figuring out exactly like how we want to present all of that. This is like a super pre-launch. We want to see what people think. At the end of the day, this is a small business, right? Like I would say like this is like even smaller than a small business. It's like, dude, I don't know. I'm just throwing time on my weekends at this thing. And it's more so just my statement on kind of things in the industry is like, I think I want to, I want to see where this goes. I have other roasters I want to work with that I have. Also, I do have other coffees and roasters lined up. But as you can kind of imagine, this is potentially a very like interesting thing to be a part of, right? If you're a roaster and you want to present your flavor profile to somebody in the US, well, maybe this is an opportunity for that, right? But I'm not trying to, I don't know what's going to happen with this, okay? Oh, please reach you. I don't have a Discord. I need to make a Discord. There's no Brian Discord yet. I'm sorry. Right now, Instagram to chat, I think it would be better to send me an Instagram DM because I could like literally respond to you. You can also find me on Discord. I don't know how to like link my Discord. Is that a thing? And then there is an email that's just like our support email, basically. Like if you have any questions, I'm monitoring that email, so you can email me. That's another option. But yeah, happy to like I'm definitely happy to like try to QC roast with you. Like if it doesn't taste good, is it because maybe you don't like the style? Is it because of the equipment you're brewing on? Or, what are you doing, right? And, we're going to need to try to QC that. I think we could try doing a live stream too and try to do that as well. But, this is a pre-launch of all of this. The coffee will be roasted next week, so hopefully it's interesting to you guys. And then also, I think I'm going to do a formal video, right? I'm going to do a cool video. It's like, yeah, this is what I'm working on. And then also some maybe dedicated videos on these coffees, like, brewing them. There's a lot to share here. And yeah, Tanner, this is only in the US for now, unfortunately. It's we got to nail down the logistics. If we can't do the US, we can't do the rest of the world, okay? That's how it works. We really need to, there's a lot of stuff on the logistics end, like coffee is very logistical based and production based, and seeing how that goes is a big part of making sure that this actually works, right? So this is why it's a pre-launch for whoever's like watching the stream right now and whoever's gonna watch the VOD here, right? I'll link everything in the description of this VOD and somewhere. But I think like, for a fair bit, it's probably going to be US, depending on what the shipping situation is like. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm trying to solve the problem of like, I don't want things to like, I've tried to buy coffee from Asia. It takes like, it takes like 2 months for it to get here. So okay, we'll figure it out. I will plan to do the Hoffman tasting. I actually do have some of that coming here. I was going to pass it off to a lot of the people in the Bay Area coffee community. I might end up having to be in LA during that weekend, but I can bring that coffee with me and I can do the taste test. So I think that'll be very fun. Yeah, there is definitely, I've thought about a lot of these problems and situations, right? It's like, how do we actually get people here to taste it, right? And yeah, like the reason why I haven't done like a Patreon or whatever, right, is because I do this for fun. Okay, I do coffee stuff for fun. Like, yes, I professionally work in the industry, and there's things like that, but I want to keep this YouTube stuff is fun for me, right? And even this coffee project on the side is fun for me, right? Like it's things that I find interesting. So eventually I'll try to make it more formal. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I think I can figure that out. Like, I'm less so concerned about the costs of shipping, but more so concerned about like what the logistics are regarding timing of shipping. The past few jobs that I've had, shipping things into Canada is complicated. And also if it is roasted coffee, it's a little goofy. I don't know if I want to, I don't know what the logistical challenges are, especially on the business end to figure out what that is. So, eventually I'll sort it out, but I'm more so, I need to see if people care about this first before I invest all the time and actually the dollars to pull off something like Canada. Yeah, that's kind of the situation right now. If I were to answer very candidly. So, yeah, but, that's just what I've been working on. Again, the bags are going to look like this, okay? They're not the prettiest thing in the world. Eventually, right, exactly. I don't want stuff sitting at the border for like 3 weeks, right? But, yeah, the bags are not going to look the prettiest. They're going to look like this. Look like coffee. It's in a white bag, okay? I don't have a graphic designer or anyone yet. Actually, if you guys know someone who wants to help me make these bags look better, let me know. But I am just like, you know what? I just need a vessel that checks all the boxes to be able to put the coffee in with the correct information, the stuff that passes like, FDA and all of that to ship out to you guys. At the end of the day, I am not trying to be a coffee roaster. I just wanted to look at creating something that I think solve the problem for myself, but also it's a statement, right? It's like, this is what I think is interesting. Okay, where is Western Canada? Okay, unknown entity 222. Western Canada, dude. I don't know. Where is Western Canada? Where along the long strip is Western Canada? Dude, I don't know the regions, man. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm just Googling Western Canada coffee. Okay, that doesn't get me anywhere. But I will just list off some Canadian roasters that I think are fun. I like Hatch a lot. I actually was going to buy, I think I'm splitting their advent calendar, so I think that's coming up. British Columbian, Alberta. Okay, Alberta coffee. Monogram was pretty good. Rosso, I've had a few from Rosso that's pretty good. Phil and Sebastian I have not had yet. Where's Kyle's Roastery? It is a San Jose roaster. I am still figuring out exactly how we want to name things. Like, we're figuring a lot of that out right now. Like, this is how early this stage of this project is. Do I have any recommendations on apps, websites, or blogs to stay up to date with coffee news? Where could you stay up to date with something new like this? I get a lot of my information through Discord, through the Espresso Aficionados Discord, through kind of just like the online community. Something like this, I don't know where this would be announced. Like, I don't know. I don't have any context to like Daily Coffee News or Sprudge or whatever, right? I'm just a guy that does this stuff, right? And I'm not going to really spend that money to like try to get onto those platforms. So that's just like, I don't know. This is an idea that I've spent months on and I've put a decent amount of money into, and I'm happy where it is. Like, it's now real. Here it is. I don't know how many of these things get announced everywhere. My kind of pulse on a lot of new coffee businesses is I think there are a lot of roasteries that happen. So I don't know. I think like shops open too, but like products and all of that, I think you should check like Sprudge, Daily Coffee News. I think there's like another one. But like, my pulse is that not a lot of stuff is like, not a lot of new businesses are happening all the time. I have seen like people rebrand some of their businesses, but not like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's like there's not like that much going on. The industry is so small. Every year there's new stuff, but like, you know, we don't operate. I don't feel like the coffee industry operates at the speed as a lot of other industries. Even though it is fast, but it's just like, there's only so much you can do within the constraints of the industry. Oh, moving's actually really good. I'm gonna go down to LA in a few weeks, and when I had a COE number 2 Colombian from Moving at Kumquat, and I was very, very blown away. I was very happy. Oh yeah, Ply is also cool. Luna is great. I have not tried House of Funk. I have not tried Prototype. I have not tried Palette, but I have tried Luna. There's actually a video. I might publish this later tonight. I shot a video with Bill about. It's kind of funny. We're talking about Asia coffee roasting, but this is this is hilarious. Okay, so this is it's a video about Chinese coffee. I shot this video about Chinese coffee with Bill. Bill is from China, but we got a Chinese coffee that is roasted in Japan that was then ground on a Taiwan hand grinder. A very complicated politics there, but I shot a video with Bill about Chinese coffee. I actually have it uploaded to the channel, but I haven't published it yet. I have to like do all the YouTube dumb stuff like add timestamps and whatever. But this coffee is super interesting. You'll see this coffee picked up by a few different roasters, but this is a yeast fermentation honey catamore, and it tastes like Lady Bermudez. It is wild. It is processed in a very goofy way that it has that synthetic flavor that you get out of Lady Bermudez, and it's like wild. Yeah, you can link buttered boards. You can link there. No, Bill is like American light. Like he roasts light, relatively light. Not like ultra light. His stuff is definitely also has that bump in sweetness, but it's really good. He just got a bunch of Pepe coffees in. I don't know. I hang out with Bill a lot. Bill and I play Overwatch together. It's terrible. This is what you do, like when you're not doing coffee, so just play video games. It's terrible. So yeah, this is a Yunnan grown. Yeah, this is Yunnan. It is 1,400 meters above sea level. It is very, very, very low altitude and because it is very processed. But this is the glitch roast of it. I think a bunch of different roasters are picking this coffee up, but it's very fun. So there's a video that you guys will probably see tomorrow about Chinese coffee, what's kind of our pulse on Chinese coffee as well. If you guys did not also, some other kind of really interesting stuff is like, I cannot believe I'm forgetting the name right now, oh my God. Another one, I'm so sorry, I forgot about this, but Fringe Coffee in California, Santa Barbara. I think a lot of new coffee stuff is coming up. So I think like a trend that we are going to see is like maybe some more interesting processing on some of these emerging varietals, emerging regions. Although what I will say is that I think some of these coffees are already really, really good. Taiwan is producing some very interesting coffees. I have tried a few that I've been pretty impressed by. It is hard to buy those coffees here. I like, yeah, I have run into that same problem, which is why like this is where this project has come from. Is like I like the style of coffee that they're doing. It's just really hard to buy here. So it's like, can we recreate that here? But I have not had like some of the Ali San coffees that recently. Maybe I had one like 2 or 3 months ago, and those are pretty good. Okay, very complicated question about, am I concerned about the lack of money there is in specialty coffee? Yes, absolutely. This is a very weird industry, is what I'll say. And I probably will publish an entire video about this, but like, without getting too deep into it, a lot of my personal interests with the industry are actually around the perception of value of coffee. I think that, I say this as more of an American consumer of coffee, is I think specialty, this is a hot take here. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to produce my hot take right now, but I think a lot of specialty has done a really great job at making things very accessible, like the existence of specialty. But I think there was something lost in that 2005 to 2010 time that I wish they did a better job at communicating value. And I think this is, it's hard to do that. There's like a lot of market reasons. Like, if you have Starbucks and they're charging a certain price, maybe you need to charge, you're like forced to charge very, very similar prices there. And the challenge there is there's two things that I think are very lacking in, or not lacking, but like very different among something like a Starbucks and like a specialty roaster, is that one is the cost of goods. So if you're a $6, $7 latte, you're gonna only your COGS there, and also like there's two things there. The cost of goods of making a latte or a beverage is much worse with specialty because the focus of specialty is to like, elevate the, present some of these more expensive coffees, and there's like a whole entire conversation there. It costs more money to do that. Second thing is I also think there's a very interesting lack of adoption of some of these systems that you find in like a Starbucks or like a McDonald's even, which is like, you think about how much skilled labor there is to like a barista, like skilled labor, how much effort they have to go into making beverages. And it's significantly different than like push button experience that like a Starbucks has. But at the end of the day, I think the amount of effort between those two things are very different, right? And the margin is very different. And the type of labor and costs are also so different, which ends up creating kind of like a vicious cycle, I feel like, of, oh, this is the way it is. There's no money in this industry. And like, it's difficult to push against this. And I don't know. I don't have an answers for that, but those are kind of my consumer observations. Like, this is not even me saying, like, coming you with like an answer to this. I'm just saying, like, this is what I've observed. It's like, for example, in the Bay Area, I can go to a specialty coffee shop, I can pay $7 for a latte, and I can go to a Starbucks and pay $7 for a latte. But there's so much more effort and cost differences between the two, and scale and market forces and so on and so forth. And it's like super, super complicated to discuss. And I don't know. I don't know if that answered anybody. But like, my perspective is, I think that there's still a core education problem among a lot of American consumers, and more so a difference in cultures between somewhere like here and somewhere like Asia. Like, I don't know. I always refer to Asia, where I just feel like the respect for craftsmanship is very different there. And because there's a respect in those cultures for craftsmanship, which is like coffee, right? Making stuff, doing stuff with your hands, creating something like that. I think the perception of value is very different of coffee in cultures. But we have seen places in the United States really make very different statements and have created markets across the United States that are willing to spend more money on coffee. I'm talking like consumer education, right? So I don't know. It's complicated. Did not expect to spend like 20 minutes talking about that, but yeah, wanted to chat about that. Okay. Yeah, like, if you are roasting coffee for fun, it's hard. I have a few friends you guys are insane. You guys are probably watching this and y'all are insane. It's the guys that I hang out with all the time. It's like, if you're doing this for money, it's very volume based. Okay. You either have to go the route, like if you spend $1,000 on a roaster. Okay. This was something that I did. I bought an Aleo Bullet V2. I've not touched the damn thing because I am not a roaster. I'm not going to spend the time and effort to learn how to roast the way that like these guys will roast, right? This is decade like of time. This is so much effort to get into. And more so, it's like the stuff I like already exists, right? And it's like, you invest that money into roasting, then you have to look at the greens, then you have to like, do all this. So you either most of these hobby roasters, right? You either make your money back via volume, right? So like, a lot of people will buy these roasters and they'll like sell to their coworkers, they'll sell at farmers markets or whatever, right? It's a volume-based business. Or you try to do boutique higher end stuff, which is another way to do it, right? Is like, and I think a lot of people who are getting to hobbyist roasting are like, nowadays, I feel like, or it depends on what roaster you're buying, of course. I think it's like, they're more focused on the premium coffees, because now actually I think buying some of the more interesting coffees like Diego Bermudez, Wilton Benitez, like, I shouldn't use those two names in the same sentence, but like these more interesting coffees is now much more accessible. Like, you can, like, we've gotten past the, just buy from Sweet Maria's or Happy Mug, which I don't want to get canceled saying Happy Mug, but like those types of things. Like, it's much more accessible to buy these higher end lots of coffee. If you're a hobbyist roaster, right, you're probably doing it for fun anyway, right? It's not your full-time gig, but like, it is difficult to make your money back. But I think a lot of people, it's a very passion driven business, right? People do the hobby roasting, then they do the pop up, then they get their own shop, and then like it's just, it's a rabbit hole. But I do want to mention this. I haven't looked at chat entirely here. I do want to mention this is I think COVID has really been interesting. I would classify myself as really like a COVID coffee professional, where I've gotten into the coffee industry because of COVID. If COVID never happened, I would not be working in the coffee industry. And now, after this COVID time, I think there's so many different perspectives and so many different people who got into coffee during COVID and are now breaking into the professional sphere and bringing very different perspectives and very different methods of selling coffee, and more so like products and ideas and whatnot. And I think we are going to start seeing a shift even in some of these concepts, right? Like roasting coffee, pop-ups, experiences, and so on and so forth. I think we're really going to start seeing that in the next few years, right? I think a lot of that stuff has already existed before, like even before I was getting into coffee, but I think it's a timing thing. And also like a lot of, I think it's a very, very different perspective, right? So I hope, I don't know, that's kind of my quick thoughts on that. I have not been to Play Coffee because whenever I'm in LA, I don't want to go there. It's very far away. And also I've heard that parking there sucks. And $13 pour over, I'm totally fine paying $13 for a pour over, right? Like if it's done well, I think it's fair, especially if the coffee is very expensive, right? And like I think I would like to see that to become a norm, right? This is a controversial opinion, but I mean, I think people should be spending more money on these on shops. Like when I go to shops, I'm like, give me a reason to spend money, right? And a lot of shops, for a variety of reasons, it's like it's hard to offer a $10 cup of coffee, right? Like I look at some of these like Facebook coffee groups, and I saw a post about Coffee Project in New York where some guy complained about paying, I think, $8 or $10 for a pour over. And like, that's just the reality. It's like, oh, it's because it's New York City and it needs to be expensive. But like that coffee that they were charging $10 for a pour over was like a pretty expensive coffee. And you kind of need some of these businesses to take that risk and like put it out there. So I thought that was like, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to start seeing a shift. People hopefully caring more about the value of something. I think this is something happening a lot more in my generation now, where yes, coffee is still viewed as a commodity, right? The functional benefits of caffeine are great, but I think there's a lot more focus now, and this was what specialty is, in my opinion, was trying to do. But I think now we're really seeing it as like there is a lot of focus, a lot more on kind of these other aspects of coffee that are not just related to, oh, it makes you feel good, oh, it's caffeine, right? It's more of like, what is the story? What are the flavors you found in coffee? What are now I think what's cool is what is the experience revolving around coffee. So I think those are things that are coming up soon. Yeah, parking at Play is pretty bad. I am planning on doing like that LA trip again. Probably gonna hit up the new kumquat in downtown LA. I love the old the regular old kumquat. Low quad is fun. Day glow is fun. The typical stuff. I'm more so going to LA for the food. I'm gonna go down there with one of my college friends, and I think we're gonna have a fantastic time. So, Fabrew is fun. Fabrew is Vincent of Tales. I want to go and see his shop. I want to go and visit. Vincent, if you're watching this, I thought you were moving to LA, man. He told me he was moving to California, and then he's like not here. So maybe I got to go and visit him at some point. I haven't been to Canada in a while. But I like what he's doing, right? It's like you need people like this to push the bar, right? Pour over only. You need to, like that is the experience, right? Is like you need to come and have an experience at my shop, right? That is like the commentary that I think a lot of people are willing to take. I think people are willing to take those risks now, which is great. You guys can't see it there, but I have all the Face Connect coffees. One day I'll show them. I'll do a video on them. I have like cupped all of them. I have my notes on which ones I like the most. Stereo. I have been to Stereoscope in Echo Park. I thought it was nice there. I went to the one. I went to the one that had the Leva X. It was like with the EG1 is beautiful. But yeah, like I know some people who work in the industry don't like the comparison of like wine to coffee, but like I feel as a consumer, it's like there's a whole entire thing built out about wine. Consumers understand that it's valuable. People are willing to drop $10-15 for a okay-ish glass of wine at dinner. But you ask typical American consumers to spend $5 on a cup of coffee, and there is massive pushback. There is so much price sensitivity in coffee. A lot of this does come from the older generations where they're used to their, 5 cents Folgers and all of that. But it's getting over that hump and communicating value and communicating like this is worth it to people that is very difficult, right? This is why I work where, I work on the X Bloom, and, a lot of this is like taste. It's like, how do you describe, like you have to let people taste coffee for them to understand, right? It's a subjective thing. The additional challenge to coffee is that like you run into the same problem as wine, which is taste. Okay, you gotta build your palate somehow. But then brewing is stupidly complicated, right? Like how you brew stuff really influences flavor. And I think that is the additional hurdle that a lot of new businesses and new projects and products in coffee have been trying to tackle. Like how do you solve the problem of brewing in presenting flavors? So I think people are getting better. I think like the businesses are all getting there. We have so many cool startups, so many cool products coming out, and I think we need these things to exist to help increase the funnel of people who might actually be interested in coffee, right? And a lot of that is communicated through taste, which is a fortunate and also unfortunate reality. There is a Stereoscope that has like a Leva X pop-up. I think it's the one in Echo Park. It is the one that they had to do an Instagram post because people kept stealing their cups. That's bad. Like the cups, when you go to the shop, they have like the really nice ceramic cups that I think it's a Korean woman who is also in LA. She's an artist that she did the cups, and they had to do that Instagram post about, hey, people keep stealing our cups. Can you stop stealing our cups? I think they switched to like to go or something, but it's that one. It's that location. Yeah. Never had Florida coffee. Cannot comment. I've never been to Florida. Yeah. Can I do a video comparing decent simulation profiles to the actual machine? Maybe. Machines are like, it's a lot of time and effort to do machine videos, is what I'll say. At the end of the day, I think most people who ask these questions, you guys are smart enough to make good coffee on either of those machines. Also, the problem with the decent simulation profiles versus an actual machine is that, like, how do I explain this? Like, let's use the Slayer profile. The Slayer profile, I think, runs at 1 mil per second because it's trying to mimic the actual Slayer paddle when you open it. We open to the first position, and it's like you just you can control like the ramp up everything, right? It's like the problem with the decent is that like you have to, or like some of these profiles is that I don't think they fully updated some of the profiles, but like some of them are timing based. I think now there's some new logic on them, but like it's like you can't really. I can do the same profile on both machines, and like I don't know, it's like hard to compare, right? I don't know. I don't really. It's kind of a non-answer there, but it's like you can control so many variables on all of these machines that it to an extent does not matter as much. I would say that amongst most machines, the only thing that you like can't really do from one machine to another is if you're doing like something like Londinium. Crazy flow. It's like unless you have a machine that can also replicate the flow, it's very difficult to recreate a profile like that. I noticed no fellow StagX on your dripper live stream. Our dripper live stream was on goofy drippers, on new stuff. So the StagX is not a new dripper, so it's not going to be on that stream. Yeah, so that is the challenge is you have to like kind of buy into the flavors, right? It's kind of like I've had some of my friends convince me to like do a lot of the alcohol stuff. Like for me, I'm in my baby steps of like I like cocktails, but I don't drink like whiskey or sake or anything like that. And I've had it a few times. Like people are like there's like hype, right? And you try it and you're like, I can understand these flavors through my coffee palate, right? But at the end of the day, like it's kind of like if you've never had espresso before and you suddenly your entire presentation of coffee is espresso. If you've only been drinking pour overs before and you now are shifting to espresso, I think it's like, oh God, I'm bumping things. It's going to be hard, right? It's going to be hard to like adapt to that. You're going to need to get used to it. And if you're in a fine dining experience where, oh, here's a lovely meal, and then boom, here's this coffee, how are you supposed to learn how to taste that quickly, right? If you've never had fruity coffee before or whatever, right? In this case, like it's a Wendelbo coffee. Oh, what? Wendelbo coffee is probably too clean. It's probably too normal. It's too real, right? How the hell is a normal guy going to know how to taste that, right? So in my opinion, I think the way to do that is like you have to use goofy stuff. You have to use the Bermuda stuff. You have to use co-fermented stuff, right? It's like if your goal is to showcase flavors in coffee, you have to kind of tap into some of those. That's kind of been my experience of running some of these coffee pastry events. I haven't been posting about them a lot, but I've been hosting these events for normies, and it's like you have to use goofy coffee to communicate the fact that coffee has interesting flavors. Otherwise, people are going to taste it. They're going to taste bitters. They're going to be like, well, this just tastes like coffee, right? And like that is a very difficult hump to get over. It's like, how do you communicate all of the tasting experience in a very fast manner? Especially if you're in a one-off experience, right? It's very difficult. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up soon. I have to go get dinner. Yeah, so it's really great to see things like that where I think customers are understanding that you have to spend money on coffee, right? Like the issue is I think like among people who maybe this is a Facebook thing. I've seen it on Facebook, but like I think a lot of people always question, where does the money go, right? And like there's kind of like an anti-establishment or like against the business owner type of mentality that I feel like I see on the internet where it's like, oh, I'm not willing to pay those prices because the money's not going to go to the right people in the first place, right? So I don't know, right? That is different between a lot of businesses, but I feel like there's a lot of that mentality, and like consumers kind of also need to get past that because there is still a significant group of people who are very value minded, right? They don't think that they should be spending more money per cup of coffee or on beans, right? $20 for a bag of coffee is a lot for most people, right? If you're not used to, if you don't think it's worth it, right? I don't think it's a lot of money for coffee, but it's like, if you aren't used to spending that amount of money, you're going to start questioning things. And I think a lot of the questioning kind of goes to the wrong place, or it's not in the right spirit. And I don't like that personally. But I think consumers are now starting to realize that it's like, if you want the good stuff, you have to pay up. Because a lot of these roasters, right? I think about like all of the roasters we mentioned, right? They spend big dollars on the green because that's what they're focusing on. And then it costs money to produce it, right? It's like, how much money do you guys actually think is in this business, right? What am I going to dress up as for Halloween? My Halloween plans are all weird, man. I was gonna try to dress up as Patrick Rolfe, but some things changed, so I don't think the costume is gonna show up in time. But I wanted to get the full Fred outfit, Scooby Doo. Like whenever, like, what is it? It's like Fred Scooby Doo, right? Fred Jones. That's what Patrick Rolfe looks like. You got the bandana. You get like, dude, the guy looks like Fred from Scooby Doo. Okay. Maybe I should just dress as that. Wants to get dinner. Harry, if you haven't gotten dinner, I'm down to get dinner. I haven't gotten food yet. Fellow Stag Eggs, can you follow V60 recipes? You can follow most flat bottom recipes. All you need to be careful of is, I would say, if you're using Kalita filters, you might run into some sort of stalling. I would use the Stag X filters, and then also be a little careful on how aggressive you pour. You can't really be pouring like very fast flow recipes like April or Oria because you run into pushing the bottom paper filter down too much and stalling. So that's why people do things like the mesh. So that's why, like, so overtly processed coffees, it's like, is it a bad thing, right? It's like, I look at something like this and I'm like, is this bad, right? Is this bad for the industry, right? And you have people in the industry who are like so used to certain things and they hate this so much. But it's like, the devil's advocate of this is like, you kind of need stuff like this to make normal people understand, right? People should not have to invest all this money and time into goofy coffee stuff to understand that coffee tastes a certain way, right? It's my opinion. No, not Fred Flintstone. Okay, it's Fred, right? He's got the you got like the scarf set up. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up soon because our Fred. Okay, apparently everyone. Okay, all you guys want to get dinner, so I'm gonna go get dinner with these people. I like the Stag X because it's easy to push high extraction. It's very hot. He keeps the temperature. Does the Flare 58 have a flow rate? I don't know anymore on the current one because you can push it down super, super hard. But I think you'll run into plunger problems there. I like the San Remo a lot. The San Remo is so enjoyable. Because you can actually get 15, 16 mils per second flow rate. A little bit, I think anything to me has been, like anything above 8 mils per second has also been really interesting. Most overrated coffee product. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll answer a few more questions because I really want to thank everyone for tuning in for today's stream. We went over the wonderful Asia coffee roasting project, which is a new project that I've been working on. Check out the website arp-coffee.myshopify.com. I have not linked the actual domain to this yet, but basically we're working with roasters in Asia to recreate their profile here in the USA, and we got these coffees that I think are really lovely from two different roasters, two different roasting profiles, and they're ready to buy right now. They'll be roasted next week, and you guys can get them. So that's the TLDR of what this is. Yeah, I don't really have a most overrated coffee product. I don't know. I'm like kind kind of beamed out of my mind right now. I can't think about things. The equivalent of Catholic medium is probably something like the April filter. I think the Aprils flow pretty fast. You can grind pretty fine with them. The problem is like there aren't a lot of good flat bottom papers that are as, you know, that have all the different variants. I will say though, I completely forgot about this, but Sybaris is also a great option. Sybaris has a lot of, like, that is the true way. Sybaris flat are good. Yeah, Patrick, if you need the tattoos. I am one of the few tattoo-less coffee professionals. My favorite flat bottom recipe is a mix. I'm going to have to cop out and say it's either my recipe or it is brewed. I'm just going to say, I can't remember. It's brewed by Jay. It's our friend Jay. He was in the chat earlier today. He has a really, really cool recipe. I'm going to shout him out here. Brewed by Jay. I'm going to show his Instagram on the camera. Brewed by Jay, guy in North Carolina. He does coffee tastings at his apartment. And he's been hosting people like every weekend. He's been serving amazing coffees. He has an Oreo recipe, which really, really is interesting because it controls a lot of the fines. It is really awesome. Check that out. I don't know what's for dinner. I got two guys who I hang out with that want to get dinner. You guys are wasting your time watching my stream, and I guess you guys, I don't know. I gotta chat with you guys about where we're gonna get dinner. It's like 8 p.m. now. So here's the thing: when you start brewing coffee, right? It's like, is that you? Is it the coffee? Is it skill issue, or is it you know, whatever you're doing? But yeah, no, there are so many interesting things. But you know, this is all I wanted to present today: is Asia Coffee Roasting Profile Project. It is here. I'll link this again in the chat for you guys to read. A lot of the information I have not filled out yet. You know, eventually I'm gonna get around to filling things out. But if you did order coffee today, I really want to thank you. And you know, I really, really hope to get some feedback on these coffees. I really hope that you guys enjoy it. I probably will have some more formal videos on what this is, but this is like the super soft pre-launch of what this is. You know, something I just like have been very passionate about, and I wanted to present to you guys. So thank you guys so much for spending time to watch today. And, you know, we'll live stream some more. I have to live stream the lovely Bean Seeker. So that's something that will happen. I might just live stream and like set up the camera and just run a cold brew while I sleep. And then when I wake up, I can have cold brew, and that would be like a funny stream to have. No, I don't have any other products that I sell at this moment. Not in the coffee space, at least. I do other stuff. I don't only do coffee. But yeah, all right. That's all for tonight. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys another night. Time to go and get some food. All right. See you.